lazy exercises, reps and sets. So the purpose of, well, for me anyway, the purpose of reps and sets, like whenever you find a routine or you create a routine, you're like, okay, I'm going to do 5 reps of this exercise of bench press, right? And then I'm going to do 2 sets, right? Now the thing is, doing, getting the right amount of weight for you to push out the 5 reps, specifically, where it's like once you hit 5, that is you're all right. That's the last bit of strength you have for getting to that number, and then after that, it'll be difficult to get to 5 again, because you should be a lot weaker by that time. But a lot of times you'll set up the weights. Let's say you put 300 pounds, right? You're trying to bench, and then you realize you could do 8. It's like, that's 3 more than the 5. The 5 was meant to be the max, right? It was meant to be the goal was to max out, right? To go to failure, 5 reps. So of course, 300 pounds wasn't enough. So you would have to like go 310 or something, maybe even 320 to try to knock yourself down to less than 5 reps. Because the goal is to try to reach the 5. So the reps is just the goal. Like you're trying to get to there. That's the destination, is to get to the 5 reps. If you can go beyond it, that's good. That means you're strong. But it just means you're not lifting heavy enough. And of course, to trigger, muscle, the muscle growth is you gotta lift heavy, right? You gotta push yourself to your limits, right? Get to a limit, which is the 5 reps, right? And if you could push 1 more rep, right, or even a partial rep, do it, right? Because you're trying to push a little bit further to get that real strong muscle fiber rep, right? And then of course, gotta let yourself heal, right? Rest days. Sets. The thing about sets is that if let's say this is the first time you're going to do a routine, right? You're like, okay, I don't know what my max, 5 rep max for bench is, because normally I use less weights, and I normally do 10 to 20 reps. So I don't know what my 5 is, right? So then you have to try to guess, right? So you might try to add 50 pounds to your bench. So let's say your bench is usually 200. You try to add 50, right? 25 on each side, and try to see if that brings you down to 5. But you might end up being able to do 12. It's like, all right, I did 12. It's not heavy enough. Got to add more, right? So you might try to add an extra 20 pounds, maybe 10 to 20 pounds to try to get the numbers lower. And of course, for stuff like that, I would recommend using machines, because it'd be easier to, transition the weight, as opposed to like 3 weights. And then of course, you're trying to get to the point where you don't need a spotter. So for example, I got the Smith machine right over here, and this is how I bench, because as you can see, I'm alone, so I have nobody spot me, even if I wanted a spotter, which I normally don't. So I would obviously use the Smith machine and try to see how far I can go weight-wise, just to try to reach that number, and then go from there. And sometimes you might end up doing 3 sets instead, because the first set was, I'll call it the calibration set, where you're just trying to see like, okay, not heavy enough. So you stop. Like you don't go all the way to failure. It's like you start lifting, it's like, yeah, it's light. I easily got to 5. All right, let me stop. Like, or you start lifting, it's like the first 2, reps. It's like, yeah, this feels way too light. Let me add some more weight. Right. So then you end up, stacking it up to get it nice and heavy. So you, at first, are going to try to get to that number. You're trying to find out what your 5 rep max is. Then do it. Right? And if you have the strength for another set, then do another set, right? Then rest for a week, and then come back and, add about 5 to 10 more pounds to it, to your, your bench, just to keep the numbers at 5, right? And then do 2 sets. You get the idea. And that's how you will utilize the reps and the sets to calibrate how much weight you should be using. This is obviously why we use reps and sets as opposed to actual weight, right? Instead of saying bench 300 pounds, this many times, because everybody, strength level is different. So it's more about the reps and the sets than it is about the weight. The weight just helps you get to those reps and sets. So once you have your reps and sets, almost, calibrated well, then you really want to do the routine. You want to get to the point where you can easily do more than the number that you set, your max, which would be like 5 reps, for example. And then obviously you want to add more weight. So let's say the next week you do add more weight. Let's say you add like 10 pounds to your bench. So you're benching like 310, for example. But you can see that you can do like 8, maybe even 9 reps. So you really got strong, right? Which means there's no point in your second set being the 310 pounds. You should throw an extra 5 to 10 pounds on there, right? And let's say in the second set, the best you can do is like up to 4. So you're close to 5. Well, good enough. At least you got there. At least you got close to 5. So at least you know you can handle, well, 320 pounds and get close to the 5 sets. And clearly you lost a little bit of strength, which is why you were able to do 4 reps on the second set as opposed to the 5. So even though on paper, you know, I'm like, hey, do 5 reps, 2 sets, doesn't mean that's exactly what you're going to do. That's the goal, right? That gives you something to strive for, to try to do. But that's not exactly what you will do, because it depends on your physical capabilities. Some people are stronger than others. Some people heal faster. Some people got short arms, long arms, you know, there's variety. So the results may vary, as they say. So when I give you something, it's just an estimate. It's a goal. It's something you'll try to work towards, as opposed to something you just automatically do. You know, you're not going to start out a new workout routine doing the exact reps and the exact sets that you set out to do. The goal is to try to do that, but there's no guarantee you'll do that. Like right now, I'm doing, you know, it's a leg day. You know how it is. Don't skip leg days. So I'm over there on the leg extensions, and it's like, yeah, you know, the amount of weight I was doing last time, I can lift it way too many times. And it's like, got really strong. So now I gotta like double it up. I gotta throw in an extra 20 pounds just to get it down to, you know, me struggling doing 5. And then I just went into the second set, like after, or into a set after the calibration, and, you know, went straight into, you know, didn't rest, just went straight into it because it was so lightweight. I was able to do like 12, you know, so it's like, nope, gotta throw in some weights and drop it down while I'm there, you know, try to push myself to failure, right? So now I'm going to do the legs curls, because I'm already done the leg extensions. So I'm going to do the legs curls. And the leg curls, I had to do pretty much the same thing. I was like, I could do more than 5. Let me add more weight. So that's what we're doing. And then I decided to stop, you know, while I'm taking my break, record this video to talk about the sets and the reps, because of the fact that it's like, yeah, I gotta, since this is, because normally I do 20 reps per exercise. But this week I'm doing the 5 reps per exercise, 2 sets thing. So that's why right now I have to calibrate. So this week was to try to figure out what's my max, you know, 5 rep weight that I need for the routine. And then next week, you know, I'll be, you know, using, you know, the weights, add more weights obviously, and start trying to stack 5 or 10 pounds a week that way for like a month or 2. And then of course share the, you know, the routine for those who are interested in the routine that I'm doing. And then, you know, if I want to switch it up, for example, did you see the leg press right next to it? Actually, I do the full stack, which is about 200 pounds, which ironically is actually too light. I could do like 30 to 40 reps, and I need to get it down to 5 reps. So that's going to be an issue since I can't add more weights to the machine. So now I got to, you know, try to just, you know, I got to do squats, which I don't like, but there is the hack squat or the seated squat thing. I'm going to give that a try. So just, you know, sometimes you got to change up your routine. I personally like the leg press, but the fact that I literally already maxed out the leg press, I'm like, yeah, now I got to do squats, which I don't want to do. But that's discipline, right? We do what we don't want to do.